Okay, so I'm Samantha. I'm going to explain how to implement a queue using two stacks. So the first thing you need to be able to do with the queue is to do enqueue, which is putting something into the queue. So the biggest difference between queues and stacks is that queues are first in, first out. So they're more like if you went through a car wash. If you go through a car wash, you would expect the car that went in first to come out first. A stack is more like a driveway. Once other cars get put in behind it, you have to remove those cars first before you can get to the one that got put in first. So when you're doing enqueue using two stacks, you really don't need the second stack just because the first stack still puts them all in order and you're not trying to reference anything. So if I'm trying to put numbers in order, so like 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., you would just use the stack function push and just push each of the numbers into the stack. That's all you would do. And then they would be in stack 1 in order. However, when you try to reference them later, you'll need to do a little bit more. So that's enqueue. Dequeue is where it gets a little bit more tricky. So dequeue is removing something from a queue and also returning whatever the value is of what you removed. And this is going to be done in two parts. So to dequeue using two stacks, what you're going to do is push whatever you pop from stack 1. So in stack 1, if you pop something, you're going to start from the last thing you put in. So this right here, saying push stack 1 pop, is going to take this 3 and put it here. So if you did it again, since the 3 is no longer there, it'll take the 2, put it here, etc. So now, when you remove your elements from stack 2, you would get 1, 2, 3, because you're going from this end. So all you would need to do now is save whatever element you're going to pop from stack 2 so that you can reference it later. So in this case, if we pop from stack 2, we're going to have 1 over here, and this 1 will be gone. So then if we return our element, we'll return 1, which is what we want if we're returning. If we're trying to get them out of the queue and we put them in order, 1 should come first. The second part of dequeue, which personally I think just makes the rest of them easier, is to essentially just put everything back in stack 1. So that way everything's where you started with to begin with, so you don't have to worry about constantly wondering which one your items are in. So now essentially you're going to do the same thing you did for the first part of dequeue. The only difference is that you're not going to pop another element at the end. So here you just go back, and instead of it being pushing for stack 2, you're going to say for stack 1, push stack 2 pop. So you pop the 2, it goes back up here, pop 3 goes back up here. So now if you look, it's the same as what we had at the beginning, just with the 1 missing, which is what we want for a queue because the first thing we put in should go out first. That's dequeue. The next thing that we need to be able to do is to do first. And I'm not going to draw the picture just because this one is very simple. So first is returning the value of the first item. So what you do is you want to look at the first item. What you don't want to do is remove it. So hold on one second. What you're going to do is just modify what you did for dequeue. You're going to do the exact same thing, but here, instead of saying stack 2 pop, you're going to say stack 2 peek, which lets you look at the item but not take it out. So that way, when we do the second step, the 1 would still be here. So it would be 1, 2, 3. That was first. The second to last thing you need to be able to do is empty. So that just returns true if there are no items in your queue. So because this is also a function of stacks, what you can do is just return whatever you get for is empty for stack 1, and it's the same thing because if it is empty, this will return true, so you'll return true. If it was false, that means there's something in there, so you would want to return false. The last thing you need to be able to do is find the size, and that works very similar to isEmpty. Size returns the number of elements in the queue. And again, because this is also a function of stacks, you can just return whatever you get for this function right here, and it'll give you exactly what you want. So that was my explanation of how you can implement a queue using 2 stacks. I hope you enjoyed it.